Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show, or rather, the second attempt to record the Piracy Show. Now, the first attempt was successful, and it was even uploaded, but I didn't release it because the more I thought about what I had said, I kind of wanted to go back and kind of reshape my opinion on certain things, and it has to do with the Redeemer. Is the Redeemer redeemed? That sort of thing. And there's a lot of things that I like about the Redeemer. I know that there are people who don't like it because of the shape of the engines. There are people who don't like it because of the creator. Whatever. I only am concerned with, can the ship do what it is designed to do? Is it a good value for the money? And do I think that it is overall a usable design in the universe, something that isn't all fanciful and relies on a bunch of gameplay that may or may not in fact work out, something that at its core is just a good, solid, all-around ship. The Redeemer, I feel, is that thing. I really do like it. Now, there are certain questions that come up with the Redeemer because the Redeemer is at what I would call the top end of the soloable ships. Now, that is an expectation, all right? That is not a guarantee because we know that CIG is going to have certain things to say about slaving turrets. You know, can we put enough, the server blades in to control the turrets in the CPU? We don't know how that system's going to work out. We do not know what the limitations are going to be on a ship like this. But the Redeemer, because it is kind of like a solo pilot configuration, it is at the top end of what they call it a gunship. To me, it's kind of a heavy fighter with some cargo capacity and some room to carry some troops and some equipment, which are things that you are going to need from time to time, especially the ability to carry personal equipment. You go to Yella, you're cold. You go to Daymar, you're hot. You need different sets of armor for one environment or the other. This is the ship that can bring along a lot of those things with you. And it does have a dedicated cargo space, albeit not a big one. So there's a lot of good and solid things about the Redeemer. The only real downside that I have from a functional point of view, the only thing that really kind of sticks out to me is the inability to carry any of the current like vehicles like the Dragonfly or a land vehicle. It doesn't really have that bespoke space to carry something like that, whereas something like a Corsair or a Star Runner can. And that is the only thing that knocks this ship down in my estimation. But as an all-around, just flying around, blasting shit up, doing missions, getting away with the goods, that sort of thing, I feel that this is going to be a very strong ship. I really do seriously believe that. And it was kind of funny that in the last sort of Calling All Devs episode, when they were talking to John Crew and the rest, and they were asking, do you think that the Vanguard is underpowered in terms of firepower? And they were like, no, we think it's fine. And I was like, yeah. Well, I remember making a video about that several years ago when I was talking about the Vanguard. And some of you longtime subscribers will probably remember that video or videos. And it's like, yeah, CIG is going to think the Vanguard is fine until the day this ship breaks into the persistent universe, because they are in the same weight class, they are the same size, relatively speaking, when the wings are folded up. But one has drastically more firepower than the other, and I don't really see anywhere where there's going to be a massive performance hit. I really think that the day you're going to see the Vanguard get any real upgrades is the day that this ship hits the persistent universe. And CIG was like, oh no, we've got statistics, and the KD ratio on the Vanguard is really solid right now. Yeah, against what? Because the day this thing breaks in the universe and these two start tangling with each other, unless there's something drastically wrong with the speed or maneuverability of this ship, this thing is going to eat Vanguards for breakfast. Maybe not the Harbinger, maybe not the Sentinel, because those are two very niche applications, and two, I think, overall are going to end up being solid ships, regardless of their firepower problem, at least in terms of guns. But the Hoplite and the Warden are going to get destroyed by this thing. And that's when CIG is going to be like, oh yeah, maybe there is a problem. Overall, I do like this ship, but at the same time, you gotta kind of acknowledge the fact that there are ships like the Star Runner and ships like the Corsair that are admittedly bigger, but carry more firepower and carry the ability to carry a ground vehicle. Not the biggest ground vehicles, you can't carry a ballista or anything like that, but smaller ground vehicles or space bikes and things like that. These are things that those ships can carry that can give you wider access to different approaches to complete missions rather than just fly straight to the mission site and just start blasting. Maybe you can sneak in on a ground vehicle and kind of do things stealthily. And, the Corsair, in my buyback, the Corsair is $215. And I think that, in all honesty, in the future, the Corsair is going to get a price increase, and it's going to be a situation not too dissimilar from the Caterpillar. When the Caterpillar started off, for those of you that don't know, the Caterpillar started off dirt cheap. It was like $225, or if I'm correct, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I think it was dirt cheap when it first came out, and that price jumped by like $100 because all of a sudden everyone realized it's like, oh shit, it's actually a really good cargo ship, and they couldn't make a lot of money. And I think even CIG went like, ooh, this is actually too good of a ship to just kind of give away at that price, and they bumped it. And I think that the Corsair is going to be the same thing. The Corsair right now, I mean, unless they up the price in the next sale, the Corsair is cheaper than the Redeemer. I like the Redeemer. I think the Redeemer is a great ship. The Redeemer may end up being tankier than the Corsair just because you know how CIG likes to say, Drake, paper thin. But I honestly feel that there's a lot to like about the Redeemer, and if you're kind of just looking to just get infantry on the ground and just kick ass, this is going to be a very solid ship. But if you want a wider mission profile, more cargo capacity, the ability to carry a ground vehicle, I think that overall the best value is probably still going to be the Corsair, and the Corsair is cheaper. At least so far. But if you're a player that wants to be able to hang into a fight longer, probably wants something that's a little bit more straight up combat oriented, I think the Redeemer is probably going to be very, very competitive with the Corsair, if not maybe a little bit better in terms of resilience. I think in the end the Corsair is going to come away with firepower and speed, but the Redeemer is going to come back with durability in combat. I think that that's going to be kind of how that breaks down. So the Corsair is probably going to be a little bit more demanding on the pilot, but the Redeemer is going to be a little bit more forgiving. Either way, two ships that are absolutely solid, and I definitely think that the day that this thing hits the persistent universe is the day CIG kind of pulls back and goes, yeah, that Vanguard, we're starting to see what you guys have been saying for years. Yeah, it needs a little love. Definitely, especially the Warden. Because you buy this ship, you get the hoplite as a loner, you're gonna start to see right away, you're like, oh yeah, I can see where the Vanguard does need some attention and does need some love. But either way, whether you choose Corsair, you choose Redeemer, or you choose something else entirely, it's fine. These two ships, as far as when they're going to go into production, who knows? Who really knows? It's CIG, right? The Corsair is an obvious choice because so much of the assets for the Corsair are already done, but at the same time, so much of the assets for the Redeemer are done as well because it's an Aegis ship, and they've had that nailed down for years. I think that these are two pieces of low-hanging fruit that CIG could snap together pretty damn quickly and probably would please a lot of people. So I feel that they're very close. I feel that they're very competitive, and I think that the correct choice isn't something that is automatically evident from a distance. It depends on the player and it depends on your approach to the game. But choosing one or the other, I don't think is a wrong choice. I think that they are both going to be very solid ships and staples in the Star Citizen universe.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.